Polls have opened in Lebanon. Candidates are vying for 128 seats that are divided among 11 religious groups. In the crisis-hit nation, power is divided according to a sectarian power-sharing system. While independent candidates hope to take on the ruling factions, established parties are still expected to maintain a grip on power. So, who are the main players in the elections? Hezbollah is currently Lebanon's most powerful faction. It was founded back in 1982 by Iran's Revolutionary Guards. The Iran-backed group's political sway has expanded since 2018. In the last elections, together with its allies, Hezbollah won a parliamentary majority. Its influence over state affairs has surfaced in different ways, including through control of the health system or the health ministry. The second most important group is Amal. The Shiite movement is led by Nabi Berri, who has been the Speaker of Parliament since 1992. Berri has been one of Lebanon's most powerful figures since the civil war. Today, the Amal movement is the largest Shiite party in Parliament by a small margin. This brings us to the country's Sunni faction. Former Prime Minister Saad Hariri's boycott has turned Sunni politics on its head. The future movement established by his father has dominated Sunni politics for decades. But Hariri has decided to quit politics for good. This has left a vacuum in the country's Sunni leadership. Prime Minister Najib Mikati, another Sunni heavyweight and billionaire tycoon, is not running either. Another important party is the Free Patriotic Movement. It was founded by Maronite Christian politician Michel Aoun. The FPM has been the parliament's largest Christian bloc. Currently, the FPM is led by Aoun's son-in-law, Gebran Bassil. Washington imposed sanctions on Bassil in 2020, accusing him of corruption. However, Bassil called the sanctions unjust and politically motivated. Another key player in the Lebanese forces, it is led by Maronite Christian Samir Jejia. The LF is one of Hezbollah's biggest opponents. The LF has stayed out of government since 2019, when then Prime Minister Hariri quit during nationwide protests. The election is also being contested by a group of parties opposed to the traditional ruling elite. While some have run before, others are venturing into electoral politics for the first time. Despite months-long negotiations, the different groups were unable to unite or form a unified electoral platform or coalition to run at a nationwide level. Some districts even have multiple opposition coalitions running against each other. This further diminishes their chances of making a difference. We're now being joined by our correspondent Gadi Francis from Tripoli, Lebanon. Gadi Francis, good to see you. How are the polls so far?
Great to be speaking to you, Eric, as well. Actually, the polls, the percentage is just rising by the hour. I'm in Tripoli. Tripoli was set to be, and people were anticipating that the voter turnout would not be really high in the city, but I am standing right now in the office of Faisal Karami. He's a former MP and a former minister, and he's heading one of the strongest and most popular lists in this city. He's the son of a former Prime Minister. His uncle also was a Prime Minister, so he's one of the really leading Sunni figures in Lebanon. The ambience here, as you can see around me, it looks like people did really go to vote. They are really excited. But in general, in Tripoli, up so far, it's around 22% the voter turnout. Well, actually, everyone has been anticipating this upstrength in the elections since the retreat of Saad Hariri, as you were mentioning in your introduction. But we still have a few hours, and the ballot boxes will tell us more. Actually, Mr. Karami, I just had a private and exclusive conversation with him, and WION will later on air that. He spoke profoundly about the pains and sufferings of the people of Tripoli. Tripoli really was in the middle of the light and spot a few weeks ago when there was a tragedy, when people were trying to flee the country in a boat and it drowned, and this left many people dead and many victims drowning in the Mediterranean Sea. It is known to be one of the poorest cities on the Mediterranean. And this all will really reflect in the ballot boxes, as well as the retreat of many of the main and most important politicians in the city. Right now, we're actually around the afternoon, a few more hours until the ballot boxes are closed. The expectations say that Mr. Karami will really get a good number, maybe more than last time. It's yet to tell, and we will be with you later on to tell you when the ballot boxes are closed.
Gadi Francis, residents in Lebanon are hoping that a change in power holders will pull the country out of the worst economic crisis. So far, looking at the polls, do you see that hope holding on, or Lebanon should praise for anything?
Well, actually, Eric, the status quo in Lebanon has never been really only about the parliament. The nature of the political system, the nature of the sectarian political system, the game players, the king makers have never really been only about the parliament. And in terms of the structure of the parliament, after a few political clashes in the country, it's like a known rule, an unsaid rule that to be powerful, you have to be powerful in your sect. So basically the same political elite, the same political class will reproduce itself with a little bit of change. And in that case, a little bit of change can be expected from internally. Some people like Mr. Karami, whom I've just interviewed, and some people who are running with the civil society and others say that reform is crucial in order to get the IMF loan, in order to really get the country out. But others, and especially economic experts, say that even the IMF loan will not really drag the country out of its chaos. It's a dark reality, but we must say it, as I previously was telling all our colleagues. It's not really expected to take the country out of this crisis just overnight.
Live from Tripoli, Lebanon, our correspondent Gadi Francis, thank you very much for that update. We'll come back to you when the polls close. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.